After years of searching, Sarah and Liam finally found the perfect home, a charming, old house tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. It had a certain warmth to it, with its creaky wooden floors and antique furniture. The couple was thrilled, eager to settle in and begin their new life together. One day, while going through some of the attic boxes, Sarah stumbled across an ornate, dusty portrait hidden beneath a thick cloth. The frame was large and beautifully carved, but the painting inside was unlike any she'd seen before. It was a somber figure of a man, dressed in a dark suit, standing in front of a large, imposing mansion. His face was pale, his eyes unnervingly lifelike, and his expression was one of deep sorrow, but there was something unsettling about it, something that felt off. Despite the odd feeling it gave her, Sarah couldn't resist. She decided to hang the portrait in the living room, believing it would add a touch of elegance to their home. As the days passed, they both noticed strange things happening around the painting. The longer they stared at the portrait, the more it seemed to change. At first, the man's expression appeared sad, as if he were mourning something. But over time, his eyes began to look more intense, almost angry, even accusatory. One evening, Sarah swore she saw his lips move, as if he was trying to whisper something to her. She laughed it off as a trick of the light, but the unease lingered. Then, one night, she woke up to find that the man in the painting was no longer standing in front of the mansion. Instead, his figure seemed to be lurking in a shadowy corner, his head slightly tilted, staring at her with an expression of quiet menace. The more Sarah and Liam tried to ignore it, the worse it got. Late one night, Sarah woke to the sound of heavy footsteps outside their bedroom door. She went to check, but there was no one there. The only thing she noticed was the portrait. The man in the painting was now closer, his hands were resting on the edge of the frame, as if he had moved in the night. Liam was the first to admit that something wasn't right. After a particularly disturbing incident where the portrait seemed to flicker, showing fleeting images of the mansion's interior. Its once grand hallways now covered in dark stains and dust, they both realized that the portrait was far more than just a painting. It was a curse. Every night, they tried to cover it, move it, or even lock it away, but it was as though the portrait was always watching them. And as time went on, the figure in the painting began to take on an increasingly sinister form, his features growing more distorted, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Finally, one night, after Sarah had done some research on the house's past, she learned the horrifying truth. The man in the painting had once been the owner of the mansion, a wealthy landowner who had vanished without a trace, rumored to have been involved in dark dealings. Some said the portrait was painted before he disappeared, while others whispered that it was cursed, capturing his soul forever in the frame, with no escape. It was only after Sarah and Liam decided to destroy the portrait that they realized it was too late. The painting had taken hold of them. The figure in the portrait wasn't just watching, they were trapped. The final morning, Sarah went to check the portrait one last time. It was gone. The entire wall had been wiped clean, the empty space where the painting once hung feeling colder than it ever had before. But when Sarah turned around, she caught a glimpse of something reflected in the glass, the same figure, standing behind her, watching her every move.